Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing on this lovely Thursday evening? Who am I kidding? It's not that lovely. It's cloudy and it's kind of chilly and I don't know, but it's dark out at 6 o'clock. What is going on? I hate daylight savings. Ban it, please. It is a nightmare. Do you know the instances of heart attacks and such like that go through the roof? I'm not kidding. Look it up statistically through the roof when daylight savings changes. So let's ban it. On a more positive note, I am here to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their upcoming matchup against the Green Bay Packers. As usual on my Thursday show, I am joined by Mr. Steel Flyers. How you doing, bud?
My man, my man, my man. I'll tell you what, I'm doing fantastic. And I'll tell you why I'm doing fantastic, because I sat down here and I figured it out, right? All you have to do is go over to Patreon/5SMU.com, right? And drop $48 for the year.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Or
it's nothing.
Flip it. Hey, wait. Hey, flip it, and we'll do the $84 for the year. That's the $4 or $7, right? All you have to do is go to 5-star Patreon, 5-star SMU, man. You got to do it, man, because at this point in time right now, you do it, man. It's needed more than ever in order to keep the stuff flowing. So you got to jump over there. $48 for the year.
Let's go.
Right? You can't even get coffee every day for a week.
You are so right. And yeah, as you see, there's a message on the screen. Arbitrarily, so you guys know, I'm gonna just be real for a minute. You guys know I've been going through some stuff, went through a very sudden loss of my family member. I don't think I've mentioned it on air. It was my dad, so it hit me pretty hard. Been a rough couple of weeks.
So this is the first time you're admitting that this is your first time admitting this one? Okay, all right.
Specific.
Okay.
I said it non-specifically, but I'll just be real with the people. In light of the fact that you and me just had a half an hour therapy session before we went live, I just figured, I'll be honest with the folks. Right. But unrelated to that, 2 days after that happened, YouTube hits me up and they're like, hey, we reviewed your channel and we determined you're not eligible for any monetization. So not only can I not monetize this show, which has always been the case because of the NFL highlights, now I can't monetize the radio show and the other things we do, the shorts and all that. I'm fighting it. I'm going to appeal it. I think I'm in the right, to be honest with you. I'm not doing anything illegal. But the unfortunate thing about that is that it's going to take till the end of this season, which means we're not going to make any more money off of YouTube the rest of this season. That's fine. I will be fine. We will survive. 5-star will continue, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm trying to create opportunities for people like Gage and Frayne, the people that do my, the secondary content.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm trying to do this, and I'm trying to not pay these young folks out of my pocket. I'm just trying to make enough to be able to do that. So if you like what we do, I know I always give you the pitch, but it's $4, guys. It really helps a lot. If we could get to that Patreon up a little bit higher, it would mean the world to me, and I'd really appreciate it. So, yes, that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to, like, I'm not trying to do a whole sympathy play here.
Nope.
I'm just being honest with you.
Nope.
That came like 2 days after, and I'm like looking at this email, and I'm
I
like,
know. I was
well,
like, what the
me,
what?
as I might
Yeah,
say,
right.
as I might often say in the show, well, bleep me, right? Like, come on, like, let's, just really
I don't
YouTube.
understand how you. I don't understand how you can't do that because
Well,
is it
they've determined
because
that
of the violations of all of the copyright violations that you
no, so
or I mean,
no. So
if,
I don't have copyright violations. Those are copyright tags. So when I upload the highlights show,
oh, okay,
I know how this works because I do this for a living for big channels, like in my day-to-day life. Like, so I know how this works.
right. No, I know.
Basically,
No, I know.
you set a match policy, so they upload content, the NFL does, and it matches up with everything that people upload on YouTube. And their match policy is such that when they detect their content, they just take my monetization for the main show. So that's why I've never been able to monetize the main show, because they detect their highlights in my footage. Sometimes I can get around that with like older stuff because they don't have it uploaded, all that kind of stuff. Some of that I'll get through. But that's small potatoes compared to what we make, what our main show does, which is 20, 30,000 views. That would be substantial income. So yeah, so that's not a violation. That's just a copyright tag. I've accepted that was part of doing business, but the way that I kind of got around that was that people would give us donations when we do these live streams, and people would do the memberships. They'd have the badges I was always talking about, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Providing a service to folks. They determined that too much of my content, by their means, is they said that it falls under reuse, and that I'm not changing and altering the content enough, which I think humbly is total bullshit, because I'm completely altering and changing the content. And there are channels that have
What do you think all this is?
there are channels that have millions of subscribers that just upload in context highlights of things that happen in real time without adding commentary, without adding this, without adding that. So like I said, I think I'm in the right. I'm gonna go after them. I'm gonna appeal this. I'm gonna do that. But the reality is, it won't be taken care of before
Yeah.
January. So if you want to support the show,
Uh,
patreon.com/5SMU. That's the end of that spiel. Promise.
I mean, there you go. I mean, but oh my gosh, man, I
Just trying to be
see
real
that
with
doesn't
folks,
make any sense.
I realize that this is a mystery to a lot of people, and I realize that as I've done this, I sometimes forget that, like, I am a professional in this space besides Five Star Matchup, and some of the stuff that I take for granted and that I know and all that, like, I kind of forget that some of you folks out there, don't inherently know this stuff. So I'm just trying to be honest and let you know, like, the how this works, and how it's, like, yes, I know it looks cool that 30,000 people watch my show, but, you know, need to make a little scratch off of it. A little. For those
I
all-nighters
mean,
I'm pulling.
it's well, but it's also exactly what you talked about. You got the talent.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? That's kind of where you have to go with that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I'm with you on that for
Yeah.
sure all day long.
Shout out to all
You know
the
what I mean?
lovely
So,
folks in the chat, sending their condolences right now. Same goes to you guys. I think you know how much I appreciate all of you, and I can't say this enough. I had truly, like, so many family members and stuff that, when I put that little message in the show in the Rams episode, because that was like 2 days after it happened. um I put that in the little halftime break, and I was trying to be a little, like, cutesy, preachy, whatever, but just acknowledge it. And man, that's like a segment of the show that I figure that a lot of people skip. I mean, I can see the charts, people skip the little Patreon plug. And I had so many in the comments sending their condolences and saying really nice stuff to me. And it just reinforced what I always say I love so much about Five Star Matchup. Um, I am just so proud that I have created a very non toxic sports community on the internet. And I think that is exceedingly rare. And I am so thankful for all of you guys. And I'm so appreciative for the kind words. So thank you all very much.
I mean, it the fact that we've seen some amazing drops when we've done this show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Some of your record breaking
Yeah.
donation drops have happened
Yeah.
on our show.
Nah, it's
So that just goes
yeah.
to show the respect and the kindness and frankly the beauty of what you hear is now it's how it's turned around and how the people are able to support and show that, you know what I mean, and not just in the jokes but in the comments, the condolences, and being there for that kind of type of support. You know what I'm saying? So it says a lot about what you're doing here. I mean, it's a matchup, bro, because you in it.
I appreciate that. Y'all, excuse me, I'm sorry. Y'all are the best, and yeah, I really appreciate it. And this is my creative outlet, and this is how I get back on the horse. I had a lot of people in my personal life be like, "Wow, I couldn't believe you did a show that week." And I'll be honest with y'all, um, it was hard. I was traveling. Not only was I dealing with what I was dealing with emotionally,
Yeah, there was a
all I
wedding that weekend, right?
that was a week before, but
A week
no,
before.
no,
Okay.
I traveled back home. My family, so I'm from Connecticut originally. I live in New York City now. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was away from home. I'm very dependent on my desktop that I'm on right now. I don't really have a good laptop, so I was working off my fiance's little MacBook Air. Like it was taking so much longer than everything I'm normally used to. All day just plowing away at this little 11-inch laptop trying to make 5-star matchup. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself,
Yeah.
why am I doing what am I doing this for? But I just kept doing it and I just wanted to do it. And that win was so nice. And one of the really cool things about that weekend is I actually did get to watch that game with almost all of my family in the same place physically. And we saw Kenny Pickett do it again. The last time I was in a situation like that with all my family
Fourth quarter,
was
Kenny Pickett.
yeah, the last time was in a situation like that with all of them was that game on Christmas Eve against the Raiders, and so it was a
The
really
Immaculate Reach.
yeah, so it was a really nice. No, the one this year, the past Christmas,
Okay,
The
okay.
Pickens game winner. Um,
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
yeah, so no, so it was it was a nice moment for all that, but yeah, full speed ahead, back to the Steelers. Interesting matchup this week against the Green Bay Packers, the third in a row at home. I'm becoming anxious about how few home games there are going to be on the back half of the schedule, but I'll think about that on a different day. What are your insights about our Pittsburgh Steelers as to where they are right now? Because you and me haven't talked for a little while now.
Okay. First of all, it was great seeing Dante Johnson back.
Yeah, Deontay's been
Make it
phenomenal.
again. Okay. Um, I have to go on record right now, officially say that boy ain't gonna be in no booth anytime soon.
Oh, Matt Canada, yeah.
He's just gonna be in no booth anytime soon, sir. I'm sorry, but you gonna be freezing out there now from the rest of the season, boy.
I hope he's got some nice sweatpants. Yeah,
I don't care.
no,
I
I
hope he's
was
wearing freaking short flops, man. I don't care.
I have to say I'll give you all the credit in the world on that. You were saying that for a long time and I kind of put the kibosh on it saying I didn't really think it would matter. And I think it mattered, man. I thought that I thought for the first time since he had been the OC that it felt like there was a little bit of a punch counter punch action, right? Like it felt like he felt like he was purposely calling plays. I remember like when I first started to like understand offensive play calling,
Okay.
I know a lot of people will laugh at this, but it was really like when Todd Haley was here, right? And I was trying to like I remember talking to my uncle and being like, why does he keep throwing these bubble screens? Like, they're getting 2 yards, they're getting 2 yards. And he's like, well, because, when you got a guy like AB, you got a guy like Martavis Bryant, shout out, back in the league, by the way, very happy for my man.
Word.
It pulls the corners up and it pulls the safeties up to encourage them to be more aggressive. And then that's when you go over the top and you hit them with a 98-yard touchdown pass. And I thought that
Which the
this
guy that you're throwing the bubble screen to.
exactly. And so that's a moment that I always think of as like starting to understand, like, listen, not every single play in a football game is about that play, right? Some of them are about what's going to happen later. We're seeing how you're going to respond to this thing so that we can exactly. And I got to say, I thought, at least that I could remember one of his best games as the OC. I thought he did a really great job against Carolina last year. Remember, they had that drive that was like 10 minutes with Trubisky in that game. But definitely the top 2 or 3 games since Matt Canada has been the offensive coordinator, and I think it mattered. I think a guy like that, I think he needs to look somebody in the eye and understand, I think there's a difference. I talked about this with Gage, because I know you work in a field probably where you take a lot of like video calls, right? Like I do. Do you like Skype and stuff for work all the time?
Teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a difference, right? When you like hierarchically speaking, there's a difference between when you're just in a room with somebody and you're just speaking like human beings versus when you got to go off mute and then you say a thing. Oh, wait, sorry. Oh, wait, what were you going to say? It's just different. And I think we saw it happen with Canada on Sunday.
So the fact that he was able to like fist pumps and get in some guy's grill, or the other way around, when something didn't go right, then getting in his grill. You see what I mean? Like you can't, a polarizing figure like that in Pittsburgh, you can't hide. You can't put away.
Yes.
Because it's a raw nerve anyway, so you might as well just put it out there and be done with it and just get it over with. Okay, serious. You can't get away with that kind of stuff in Pittsburgh. You just can't.
No,
Okay, there was no way. There was no way that if the team is going to continue down the way we're headed, there was no way Canada was either going to remain the offensive coordinator, A, or B, remain in the booth. So this has to be that final step on the rung to be like, look, man, we'll put you on the sideline, and if you can't around, you got the 8 games, 7, 9 games. You can't turn it around on the sideline.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I do think, for as much as I'm like happy that he had a good game, and I actually do think that this offense is starting to turn a little bit of a corner, like I thought that they were actually doing some things effectively. And I don't think it's really far-fetched to expect them to have, even a better and more amplified version of what they had down the stretch last year.
Changed to improve those specifics, though, that you're talking about. Those, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that could happen, and I think it's fair to expect that. However, I do want to be clear in saying there is no saving Matt Canada's job. There's just too much of a sample size that he's just not good enough. Like I want to be 100% clear. And like I said with Gage the other day on the show, like I also want to be clear that I don't hate Matt Canada as a person, and I really despise I despise the way people are with sports fandoms where it's like he's a like relax, the guy.
You don't need to get all filthy about it.
Yeah, he's trying. Like he's not trying. Okay, like he's just probably not cut out for the gig at this level, and that's okay.
See, there you go. I mean,
You know,
it's The man's got to know his limitations, and he's doing the best he can with what he's got, and he
Exactly,
ain't got much.
exactly. And I do, I don't think there's any saving his job. I think we'll be moving on to another offensive coordinator next year regardless, but that doesn't mean he can't go out there and try to put out some good tape for himself, Like think about it as a guy in the last year of their contract. Like they're going to want to go out and they're going to want to put down some nice tape so that they get a, opportunity at another
He'll get a
job.
job somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean to be clear,
Maybe
he's
the
he's
OC.
gonna have to go back to college. He's not. I don't think he's cut
Yeah,
out for the NFL. I just don't think
yeah,
he's good
uh,
enough.
yeah.
But I think I think good stuff can happen here. I think Deontay, we're seeing that. That was really. I knew that was gonna be a big loss because for as much as everybody wanted to look at George Pickens and his potential,
And
I
Keston and everybody else.
Yeah, I was apprehensive honestly about their wide receiver depth coming into the season. As you know, I was never sold on Calvin Austin's, ability to be a wide receiver in the NFL like on a down to down basis. I know he's really
From
fast.
last year.
Yeah.
From last year.
Yeah, I mean he, to me has been I think I would say a disappointment. He's basically made one play and that's it. He had an opportunity to make
Okay.
he had an opportunity to make another one in this last game, and Kenny Pickett underthrew him.
True.
But
True.
he doesn't, his game speed doesn't feel as fast as what the data tells me he is. You know what I mean? Guys that run these 4.2, 4.3 40s, you expect it to look that way. And to me, it doesn't look that way with him.
Okay, but let me say this. Let me wait until the end of the season to kind of give my take on him. Just because he missed all of last year with an injury, he's also pseudo rookie, right? He was hurt his whole rookie year, so this is basically his rookie year.
I totally
right?
agree. I totally agree. I just, in general, am a realist, and I have to accept the fact that in my life, most of the time, and I say this as a man who is exactly 5'8" and 165 pounds, a 5'8", 165-pound guy in the NFL most of the time doesn't work out. It's just, no matter how fast you are, it's just you're just too small, and I just, I don't know. He's small, man.
Do I detect and hear the 5-star sirens? I
Yes,
believe I
yes,
did.
they're definitely out there. Yes.
All right. That's kind of felt about Gunner.
Yeah.
Look, I would much rather have Calvin Austin back there catching, shagging punts and kickoffs than all day long. So I don't care what Calvin Austin is doing on the field as a receiver, but I like him as a returner.
Oh, no, I agree. He's a useful player to have on your roster. My concern was just once Deontay went out. Yeah, once Deontay went out, I was like, I don't think he's a guy that can be playing every snap as a wide receiver.
No.
And I think that's part of what really inhibited their offense, to be honest. Deontay gives you those easy completions, and he's been eaten since he's come back, man. I've thought he's been the best player in all 3 games since he's been back.
Well, one of.
Yeah.
I'll say one of, because I believe I said this after last week's game, and I believe I even put a couple of tweets out there or something like that. But I really think that you really need to feature Jaylen Warren running back, okay, forward. He seems to have a better chemistry with the offensive line to either hit holes that are there or make holes that aren't there, and he's able to get through those cracks and get to this. Okay. And I really feel that he's an every down back, and that's why I think you can feature him, because he's also able to pick up the block on third downs when it's passing situations, whatever the case is. I would really like to see Najee be the lightning, be the back that comes in and runs out of the backfield as like the flanker, instead of Cameron Hayward or Connor Hayward doing. I'd rather see Najee doing that, and you slot Connor back up to the tight end slot because Freiermuth is out again. Okay, and you
Yeah.
haven't had a good
Well,
really tight end group, but because he's gone out, do you know? So exactly with what you said, when Dante Johnson went down, that shifted a lot of things to kind of take away from that because now they had to feature Pickett as number one, and he really he's only a two-trick pony right now. Right, he's
yeah.
only got the over the shoulder and the fade or the the
Well,
down the seam.
and even that he doesn't always he could be he
Right.
could be frustrated if we want to go in the Pickens route. Okay, he can be frustrated all he wants. How the hell was that not a touchdown? How do you not catch that? He had 6 feet to get his foot down and he just didn't. Get out of here, dude. Don't be going on social media and trying to act like you didn't do anything and you're deleting posts about the Steelers. Like, I was so notable on Twitter. I have gotten to the point now in my mid 30s where I'm like, I don't care what a 23, 24-year-old athlete says on social media. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You're under contract for 2 more years. Like, whatever. Go be mad if you want. But at the end of the day, you're going to realize, like, if I want opportunities to make money in this league, I'm going to go and play for Mike Tomlin and I'm going to go catch the ball. So I don't care what Pickens did.
I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, I don't care what Pickens did. I really don't. But like at the end of the day, don't act like you didn't do something because he did do something. He unfollowed a bunch of people and he hit a bunch of Steelers posts. Like, relax, dude. Okay, you're a little melodramatic for a second-year player who just had who's by the way gonna have a great season. He's gonna end up with 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns this year. So chill, dude.
Here's the thing, right? You gotta take that in stride, man. And he's young, and he's,
How about getting your foot down, bro? How about getting your foot down? You would add a touchdown.
Do the simple things first. Then we could talk about the spectacular and the highlight reel and the ESPN spotlights and the 5-star play of the game.
Yes.
Right? So when you get to that level, then you can talk, right? But do the simple things first, bro. Make catches.
I can't believe he didn't get his foot down on that touchdown. I mean, that was easy money. Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson, those guys, they get that down 100 times out of 100.
Exactly. Dante Johnson would kill to have an opportunity to make that.
I know, that poor guy. Could you just feel the relief? I know Deontay is a divisive player, but man, you got to admit, if you're a Steeler fan of any kind, that was cool to see.
I can't believe that.
Because he's too good. Say what you want, he drops a few passes, whatever. I mean, the guy is a good player in the NFL. He's a high quality receiver, borderline Pro Bowler caliber. And it was just weird how it happened. Last year he had a couple that were close, and I mean, just really cool to see him. You could see him just when he caught it, and he's just like, he didn't even know what to do. He was just like, oh my God, finally.
What's this? Where am I? Where is? Right? What part of the field is this? I don't know where this is. No, it was great seeing that, man. It was great seeing that. It was great seeing him do that at home.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And right, not long after a Renegade and and blah blah, and that was just great. That's kind of that's why we love this team.
Yeah.
Right there. Right. I saw this cool little video over the last couple of out on YouTube. It was done by the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was actually done, by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, like the sights and sounds.
The story of because that's done, and the press conference and all that stuff. It was done by the Pittsburgh Steelers, official Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. So you probably could go and find it. Yeah. Right, and it was a story of Renegade.
Oh yeah.
of Renegade, and just the story of Renegade being played during the games and stuff like that, right? And they interview the guy that wrote it from Styx,
Yeah.
and he was just like, and they showed Aaron his piano going, "Oh, mama," and just playing it out on the piano and blah blah blah, right? And then they interviewed Peasy,
Yeah.
right? And he was like, and he was talking about how, man, when that song came over, like we thought that song was called "Oh Mama."
Yeah.
Right? Like they didn't know what the name of the song was called. Renegade. He thought he said everybody on the team said, "Yeah, man, we thought that song was called Oh Mama." I was
Yeah.
like, all right. But the fact that all of the players knew what that song meant, what it did, how it fired, it didn't just fire up the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what PC was talking about. Man, he said that song came on. It was like the switch flipped, right? He was like, man, and then they told the story of the guy who like thought of it
Mm-hmm.
about putting it out there. And then they said the first time he said the first cut they did was like really quick and it was whatever he said, but after a while then the cuts got longer and longer and
Yeah,
longer,
you
you
gotta
know what I
draw it
mean?
out. Yeah, that's what makes it
Yeah,
good.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
because they don't play the full song.
No, no, no. But that song is,
Right.
yeah, that song, the strength is not the chorus. The strength is the build. The strength is the, oh, mama, I'm in
Mama,
fear.
you
Yeah, yeah.
did
That's what,
from
because you just get those little like chills and you're like, oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's, I mean, obviously you and me are not breaking news here saying that Pittsburgh Pittsburgh for football specifically. I don't know that there's a better team and fan base relationship in American sports,
haven't seen
honestly.
haven't seen it. Nope,
No,
haven't seen it. I've been watching sports for a really long time,
no, because
and
yeah,
all the way across the board, all the
it's
way.
just
Now,
it's so inextricably linked to itself. Like that's the thing. Like I think that the Steelers fall in a category of teams where it's like them, ironically the Packers, teams where it's just that team could not exist
Chicago,
anywhere else. Yeah, the Bears.
the Bears.
Yeah, like, I mean,
You know,
teams like you
like
can
I
move.
can't see the Bears anywhere else.
No, you can move the Rams, you can move the Lakers, you can move,
Move the Raiders
yeah. Well, that even I kind of don't like, but still I'm there with you. You did move them. But the Steelers,
15 times.
it's so tied to Pittsburgh, and you just go there and you just realize like, on a Steelers game day nothing else matters, and it's amazing.
When you're in the during game day, right? And I've had the distinct knowledge of being there both stadiums during game day, and then working in the city during game day, right? So when I was going, I went to college out there in Pittsburgh, and I worked at the top of the triangle. Well, at the time, you could see to the field because it was right. Three River Stadium was right there, right? And you could see down to the stadium, and our head should bring a little mini 13-inch colored mini TV, right? I mean, and you could go. I mean, you go out to Pittsburgh; it's on 3 channels.
Yeah.
The game is, and it's on the radio, right? And that just was the heyday of Myron Cope. So I get on the going to work downtown Pittsburgh, right? And I got Myron Cope playing through my earphones on my little Walkman or radio set, whatever, into the game, and then we're watching the game, right? So, but with Pittsburgh on game day, dude. Everybody is wearing colors.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah.
Every on the Friday of games.
Yeah.
Right? The office buildings, everybody's wearing polos.
I mean, it's the only thing that matters. Yeah. I mean, well, the thing is, like, when you think about it, I mean, Pittsburgh, I think I looked this up. I think Pittsburgh is like, what, 350,000 people? Something like that, right? 350, maybe 4, somewhere in that neighborhood.
It's four something, yeah, something like that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, but 70,000 people in a stadium. That's a significant chunk. Like, you talk about like LA or New York, 75,000 people is nothing. That's a drop in the bucket where I am right now. There's probably 75,000 people within 2 miles of me right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? But that's what makes it so crazy is that like the Steelers, and I was thinking about this today. It's like, because did you see this thing about some people where like, social media, I'm just getting so over social media in general, but there are people that were like, oh, like the Steelers are like by the odds makers are like the second or third most likely team to like trade for Kyler Murray or something like that. And people are like, what does that mean? Why are they going to trade for Kyler? And I was like, you have to understand that the odds maker's job is to entice the most possible people to place a bet on something possible. And so that's why when you see things like that, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Raiders, they're always going to be near the top of those things because no one is a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. No one in the middle of the country is a Jacksonville Jaguars fan.
Putting any money. Putting any money down on anything.
No one is a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. No one is an Orlando Magic fan. Like there are people in every single state, tens of thousands of people who are Steelers fans, who are Cowboys fans, who are Lakers fans, who are, Celtics fans, whatever you want to say. But like, it's just a different thing. The odds makers are just trying to get you to bet. No one actually thinks that they're most likely to get Kyler Murray. They're just trying to get you to place a bet, dude.
When I was a kid, and they had the pregame shows on so CBS would come on and have their the day, and it was the pregame show, right?
Sure.
And it was always Brett Musburger or somebody like that.
Yeah.
And then they would always cut to a segment with Jimmy the Greek.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Now Jimmy the Greek, for those of y'all that are young, Jimmy the Greek was a very famous odds maker from Vegas. Okay. He laid down a lot of money. He was the top number one like odds maker in Vegas from the late 70s to pretty much the late 80s. Yeah. Right. Okay. And they had a segment on the show where he would give you the over under and, the favorites and the dogs and, whatever. Right. And they would bring up this board that had all these numbers and stuff on. This was back in like late 70s, early 80s, like hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I got to be honest with you, man. I am not a big fan of all the betting and all of that. That's sports now. Because it takes away from the game, I think. It makes it...
No, I hear you because I think... So I hear you. Yeah, I think one thing that's like... in general, I think one of the things that like you and I differ on a little bit is that you tend to be like, I think maybe a little bit, more straight and narrow on things like that. Whereas I tend to be like, oh, well, like, whatever, like blah, blah, blah. Like, and so I hear that, but I actually agree with you. Like it has become so unbelievably pervasive in sports now. And football is not even the worst one. I watch a lot of basketball. It's
thick in hockey too, man.
Yeah,
it's thick in hockey too.
It's obscene. And I will say basketball is the most fun sport to bet on, but but that's neither here nor there. Hockey, I can't imagine I can't imagine hockey's particularly good to bet on. I mean, there's not a lot of scoring.
My gosh, dude. There's a scoring? Are you kidding?
Because basketball, it's like
bets on who's going to be the first to score.
Yeah.
Then they take prop bets on who's going to how.
Because basketball, it's like, it's like, you're like, okay, like, 6 assists, 15 points. Like, basketball is just enough happens that you can convince yourself that it's going to happen, But yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
It's just too much, and it is like I don't need the ad for it every ad break, and I don't need the spread on ESPN, and yeah, I'm with you. It's become too much, and I do think it, as somebody says, like betting will introduce corruption. Like, I mean, to be honest, betting has always
Yes.
been a thing. That's not new, though. I mean, the only difference is now is legally regulated, which
It's legal.
I think that's better than just some bookie who's going around breaking people's legs when they owe money. Like, I don't know. I think it's better probably that it's legal,
Yeah, no, it's
because
not.
we all
It's not me
knew,
that comes after you now. It's
you
the
know,
IRS that comes after you now.
yeah, we all knew guys, all of us were able to place bets in the 90s, 80s, 2000. Like, that's not new. So,
Seriously,
but it is, but
right?
I'm with you. It's the marketing. And I mean, that just goes to show you, like, you know, sports betting is so profitable and you are not going to win because what other industry are they like, "Oh, if you just do a $5 bet, you get $275 in instant reward." Like, because they know that like a certain percentage out of every person that places a bet is going to become addicted and have no control and spend thousands of dollars a year on sports betting. I'm like, I've been playing off my winnings now for like 2 years on Caesars. I never put any actual money into it. I'll just like do a promo and like win one thing, and then I'll do like a $5 NBA parlay like when I'm bored. Like, but I never actually put any cash into it. It's too slippery. It's too dangerous. Not for me.
So yeah, so that's my only thing. Okay,
But do
look,
you
I
fundamentally have a problem with sports betting? Is your problem just like I'm saying with the pervasive marketing, or do
no,
you have a
no,
problem
yeah,
with
no.
it?
Look, if you wanna go down that road, that's on you.
Okay.
Okay, if you want to spend your money like that, that's on you. Okay, doing your business,
Okay.
right? But I don't need it so interweaved into every single thing that I watch in sports.
I
Do you
agree.
know what I mean? Like, even the announcers are about it. Even all the promos about it. It's like you can't watch a game now without the first, every commercial being something about some kind of sports betting somewhere, something, right? And now they got all um, celebrities are all now, because hey, guess what? They actually have like sitting around money to blow.
Yeah. Yeah, Jamie Foxx can afford to blow a little bit more cash on a sports bet than I can. Yes, that's very much true.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
John Smith up the street, who's got a wife and 2 kids, right? Who gets that first dollar bet and then wins $250 right now, suddenly is, 6 months later, is in the hole for 10 grand.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. No,
So
it is become a lot. That's an
if you
interesting.
want to do it, go right on ahead and do whatever you got to do, man. That's okay. I don't care about that stuff. They've been
Yeah.
betting on sports, dude, since long before I was around, and they'll be betting on sports long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I just don't need it all,
No,
you
I hear
know.
you. Yeah, I hear you. I totally agree. The extent for me is like, I'm home by myself and I'm like watching, some NBA games, and I throw down like a $6
You're listening to
parlay to like,
sneakers squeak.
what's that?
That's what it is. I heard it. I heard secret. I know what this is, man. I know why you like it, right? Because you like listening to sneakers squeak on that hardwood floor, don't you?
I do. I do. I do.
See, I
I
knew
like the
it. I
squeak.
knew it.
I like the squeak. I like the squeak. Um that's
But no,
actually
but I get you though.
that is something funny with basketball. Actually, my fiance always says she always takes people always make fun of her, and she's like, I love the background noise of basketball. She loves that like like the squeaky shoes and all that stuff. People are like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I don't know. I find it comforting. I like it.
Does she enjoy, like, there's certain movies that I enjoy, not necessarily because of the dialogue or the action or anything else like that, but how it sounds.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like
Sound
there's
design, yeah.
certain certain scenes, like I have a really appreciation for certain scenes because of how they sound.
Sure. Yeah. What comes
Does
to
that make
mind?
sense?
Yeah, no, it does. What comes to mind for me is a very famous scene in the movie Boogie Nights, which uses the song Sister Christian, you know that song,
Yeah, yeah,
Motorin. And then
yeah,
there's like
yeah, yeah.
a guy like doing little like firecracker like poppers things, and it builds to like
Okay.
this tension. And yeah, no, I'm here. I'm with you. I tend to be more of a visual guy, but the audio can
No,
get me
visuals are
sometimes.
good
Yeah.
too. But I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. In the first Star Wars,
Yeah.
when Obi-Wan Kenobi lights up his lightsaber and Darth Vader walks into the room
Mm-hmm.
and does the same thing, and the very next thing that you hear is Darth Vader breathing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? You hear both of the swords go, and then Vader breathing. Like, I just have an appreciation for
Yeah.
that. I'll give you another example. In Terminator 2, in the Galleria, when they're in, and they the T-1000 finds them in the aid, right? And they go into the back hallways
Yep.
of the
Yeah.
mall,
Yeah. That's the
right?
best scene in the whole movie.
And
Yeah.
and he breaks out that shotgun out of that box of
The
roses,
roses
steps
box.
on,
Yep. Yep.
dude, right? That whole
Yeah.
scene all the way through, right?
Yeah.
That just sounds really, really good.
Yeah. No, that was, I remember, I mean, this is a football show. We're not talking about football at all, but that scene, that movie, I remember for the longest time was like the home theater test, you know, like when you had like the new Laserdisc player or like the DVD
Yeah.
player when it first came out, everybody had to have like Terminator 2 or like Independence Day, or Alien. That's another good one for sound design, but yeah.
Oh
Um,
gosh, that I never even thought of that. But hey, you know what? Let's talk about some Steelers
Yeah,
and
let's talk
Packers here
about
for a minute.
football now that everybody's tuned out while we talk about Star Wars. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, listen, I'll say this. I think that the Steelers are moving in the right direction. I think that I said this going into the Titans game, and I'll say this again. I think it's a really important pivot week. And I think that they there's a big difference between going into these next couple division matchups at 6-3 or at 5-4. And I know that's obvious, but it's a big difference. It's a big difference. And I think that I think that this is a team, man, you get to 6 wins and it's like, okay, you can almost start to say, like, I think it's likely they win 10 and maybe they could win 11. But if you go to 5-4 here, then all of a sudden that path becomes a little bit harder because, for as much as they did get these road wins against, or these home wins against Baltimore and Cleveland, in a sense, they were a little lucky. I mean, Baltimore, like
That's a
Mike.
good way to put that.
Yeah, like Baltimore, like Mike T said, they did burn their own house down, and to Kenny
But
Pickett's
that Cleveland game, though,
the
clearly
Cleveland game,
lucky.
that's a loss 9 times out of 10. I mean, they just
All
got
day long.
lucky that both of those turnovers went to the house, and but the
And
reality
and that
is,
and Chubb got hurt.
yeah, and the reality is Cincinnati's just a different beast, man. Like I don't know how they split with Cincinnati. Like I just can't see their offense keeping up. Like I know we don't want to talk about it as Steeler fans, but Joe Burrow is just really, really, really good, and he's coming back, man. If you saw him last week, he looks like Joe Burrow again. And for all
Yeah,
those
against the
people that
Bills, that was really
yeah, for all those people that were clowning on him, like he was like the guy was hurt. Okay, he's still Joe Burrow, right? He's still gonna process things. He's still gonna carve you up. So I just think that this Packers game, to me, this is a team that you should beat.
need win this.
You
Yeah,
should beat it.
need to win this game.
You're at home. You're better than them. It's one of the few times the whole season where the Steelers, on paper, have an advantage at the quarterback position. I think Kenny Pickett's just, I think he's been a better player than Jordan Love this year. And you got to win games like
Yeah,
that.
I
With
agree.
when we had Ben, that's why we won 3/4 of our games, because I'd look every week and say, listen, you say what you want about this team's defense, say what you want about their offense. We got the better quarterback. And, 70% of the time, 75% of the time with Ben's career, that was usually the case. With Kenny Pickett's career, not so much the case. But this is a week
Well,
where I think you could
shorter
make that
career,
case. Yeah.
shorter career for that so far. No, I 100% on that, man.
Yeah.
Because we haven't really seen. There's not a really large body of work from Kenny Pickett either. He's only played in 20 now total, right? So I really think that there were a lot of things that played into why this team was playing the way it was. Okay. And I think we saw some of those things that are maybe hindering the team earlier in the season, maybe not so much now because of certain personnel changes. You know what I'm saying? Like all day long, Rick Jones should have been playing all day long.
No doubt there.
Um, Look, no doubt there at all. He is just a far greater player up and down. I also believe that Peasy Jr. should have started from day one because the only way you're going to learn and get experience is to go out. He clearly is a better cover guy than some of the other guys that are out there, in my opinion. I've seen too many of the Pierces and the Petersons and the go by the wayside and get completely and utterly burned. But I would much rather see a guy or fight with somebody than getting burned.
Listen, so I agree with you totally, and I think that Porter in particular has earned that. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, his sample size now is large enough that you could say his statistics are impressive. I mean, I think I saw today that he has the lowest completion percentage in the NFL when targeted. That's amazing. And for a guy who was not, I think conversely, right? He's almost the inverse of Pickett, where Pickett came in and you said, okay, this is a guy who's not physically freakish, but he's just ready for this. And I think Porter, it was like, okay, this is a guy who's physically freakish, but he might need a little time. And it's been almost the exact opposite, right? Where Porter just came in and he's been great since day one. I mean, there were a couple of those plays against Hopkins who, I have the utmost respect for. I know he's a hair past his prime, but that dude is legitimately a Hall of Fame caliber receiver. And there were times where he was just in his pocket. I mean, just absolutely in his pocket. Porter has been fantastic, but I will say, I thought about this, like with the Mike T thing with, oh, well, Broderick Jones should be starting or Porter should be starting, or even last year, Pickett should be starting, right? Part of me says, yeah, absolutely, he should have been starting from the beginning. But then part of me, the human side of me, says, maybe Broderick Jones looks really good because he got eased into it. Maybe Joey Porter looks really good because he got eased into it. Maybe Kenny Pickett's good at doing this because he got eased into it. Like, I just don't know. Like, I don't know. It's so hard to know what the coaches see, and all of what we
great
do,
point.
all of what we do is just built off of what our assumptions are. And I know it can be easy to get on Mike and can get on Matt Canada and Terrell Austin and all this stuff. But if they're seeing things in practice that tell them Joey Porter needs a little more time in the oven, cornerback especially. Cornerback is a very much like a vibe position, right? You have to have confidence.
Yeah,
You can be broken at cornerback. You can. Like that's a
yeah.
position where you can go out and like you can have a bad day and
We've
then
seen Ike Taylor go. We've
yeah.
seen Ike Taylor go through that a lot,
Yeah.
right? Where he just was a looking man, he couldn't do anything, and then we've seen him play as we didn't play at,
Yeah.
right? And so, I agree with you 100%. And you need to have that swagger. You need to be able to step out onto that field and just be able to go over there at Hopkins and go, break.
And I love that story. I loved that story about how he was like, Coach, I want Hopkins, like literally. And I mean, he followed him, and to his credit, he did an unbelievable job. He's been spectacular. I mean, for me, I think, I think he's exceeded all expectations. I think that, this draft is starting to look really solid because, I don't know what they're going to do with Broderick Jones. It was weird to me that they ultimately decided to bench Chooks for him. Maybe they felt like Jones wasn't up to the task of protecting the blind side and pass protection. I don't know. It's strange how that worked out. But he does, to me, like he reads right tackle a little bit. Like, he's a big mauler.
He does kind of have that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's more of the guy that I would much rather see out there leading the way instead of hanging back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I mean, and I think it, I think it helped the run game a little bit, and we'll see.
I think it was specifically noticeable that when the runs went on that side of the they were much more successful, just with Jaylen, but with not well.
Well, that's the thing.
Look, went back and watch both of those games again, right? Specifically to look at that specifically, right? Dude, he pops off the screen, man, at his technique, his explosiveness, his first step.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't seen anybody beat him yet in the first step.
You're talking about Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
haven't seen anybody beat him yet.
He's been great, and I think, with, because you brought up the running backs, I would say too that, for as much as we've all started to fall in love with Jaylen Warren, and I agree, I mean, I think he's a difference-making player. There's no doubt about that. He's better than just like, an undrafted free agent who is good. Like, no, he's a really good football player. When he touches the ball, stuff happens. But I will just say too, though, as the blocking has gotten better, Najee has had some really nice carries. He had another long one this week. He's still got the longest carry of either of them the whole season. I know he's got like a 25 or 30 yarder under his belt. That touchdown he had this week was really beautiful. He had another slice up the left side there behind Sayamalu, who's now starting to get to the second level a little bit. Najee is a valuable player. The thing is, they need to do a better job of getting him the ball when he's already moving at full speed. Najee Harris is an I formation running back. Najee Harris is not a shotgun sidecar running back. That's not who he is. And I think that that's what I said earlier in this season when we talked about this, which was, Jaylen Warren.
Many times.
Jaylen Warren looks better because their offense is built around stuff that he does. And the thing that I've been hardest on Matt Canada about, because this goes back to when Ben Roethlisberger was 100 years old and trying to play in it, he has shown no ability to tailor his offense to the players that are in front of him. And I think that, what we saw this week, and I think we saw a little bit against the Rams, was an offense that was starting to tailor itself to the players as opposed to the coach. And I hope it's a real moving, a real move in the right direction for Canada and the offense.
If they want to do what they can do, and that's win 11 games and make it to the playoffs, then Canada needs to be able to do what you're talking about doing. And that is playing to the strengths of the guys that he's got on the Kenny Pickett, have him do the RPOs with Najee, because that is how you get him moving in space while he's at full gallop, is the pitch. Look, all you have to do is look at what Najee did in college. Guess what he did in college? High formation, RPO.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know? Right?
Yep.
That's why the number one draft pick. Hey, if you'd scheme that into your offense,
Yes.
maybe, just maybe.
No, and you know what they need to do too, and I've been saying this, that like Warren has become a really great pass catcher, and he again makes stuff happen in space. But I need them to be aware that Najee's a great receiver of the ball. This no one I know this for a fact. No one besides me took a second look at this play, but I knew this play was important and low percentage chance to convert. There was one play, I think it was in the fourth quarter, when Pickett, there was like a 3rd and 1, I want to say, and Pickett threw a little flat pattern to Najee, and he had two guys right on him, and he caught it, and he got the 1.5 yards that he needed to get. And I was like, this
Yeah,
is like,
yeah.
these are the kind of things where like these plays are not givens, but sometimes you have to ask your skill players to do this, and Najee is capable of doing that. Whatever you want to
I
say about
agree.
his speed,
100%.
whatever you want to say about this, he's a talented receiver of the football. He can catch the ball at all kind of catch points and all kind of body movements. And I think that
Yep.
they need to be able to use him in more creative ways. And another thing I want to say real quick, just while we're on the running backs, is that there was at least one or two conversions this week where they had both of them in the game. There was one where Naj was like the single back behind the quarterback, and Warren came like in motion as though to fake like a reverse, and those are things that I think the reality is, especially with Pat out, and especially without like a really strong third wide receiver after Deontay and Pickens, I think you can make a case that like Jaylen Warren and Najee are two of the best skill players on this offense, and maybe we need to figure out how to get them both on the field a little more often. Just because it's
Or give
atypical
him the
doesn't mean
ball.
it. Yeah, just because it's atypical doesn't mean it can't happen.
I'm so with you on that. I really enjoyed. I thought that was a good little wrinkle there, having them both on the field at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, that showed a little creativity there.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, look, I'm trying to give some credit anyway. But what's going on? I think that has to be something that needs to be addressed moving forward. I think it's a much better situation to have Jaylen Warren, like I said, have him be the feature back, right? And then use Najee instead of Connor Hayward as the flanker. Use him as that, because I would much rather see Hayward out playing his natural position of tight end, because he's more of a red zone that way, and I like him better in the offensive scheme that way, because he kind of can take over for the Fryermuth. He can, because he's a larger body, he's able to make the, he's able to get some yak. You know what I'm saying? So I would much see him slot into the tight end position and use Najee as that flanker or that H back or whatever you want to call it, because now you get Kenny Pickett to roll out, which is part of his strengths. And
Yeah.
he can roll out, make throws. He can roll out, make a pitch to Najee,
Yeah.
right?
No, I'm with you.
Or you know what I'm saying? And it opens up some options for him instead of just that hot read all the time.
No,
You
I'm
know,
with
that's
you.
all he does.
I'm with you. They don't utilize Pickett's athleticism enough. And that to me is just like a kick in the teeth, because I remember those last 2 years of Roethlisberger where Tomlin was openly complaining about how his quarterback didn't have mobility anymore. And they get a quarterback who can run. I mean, straight line speed, Pickett can run, man.
It's
And they
pretty
need
fast, man.
yeah, and they need to start using him that way. Like I know he doesn't need to be Lamar Jackson, but if you look at the way that Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence and these people are getting yards on the ground, it's not unusual for Trevor Lawrence to have 40 yards rushing
Brock
in a
Purdy.
game.
Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of there's easy yardage there, and they need to be able to let him
Get
do
those
that.
easy.
Yeah. And he's
Exactly.
smart, he can get out of bounds, he can slide, he can fake slide even, as we know. Um I guess
He can even take a hit too, I guess, a
I
little
guess
bit, you
I
know?
guess
Yeah.
I mean you can't knock that about him. That kid's tough, man. I'm telling you, playing the short week with the ribs, that was impressive. It was.
Impressive.
No,
Yep.
I mean cuz
Yep. I
ribs,
agree.
dude, I heard a rib in September laying on the ground funny doing some yoga. And I was like getting up slow for a month, okay? Like, like
You're
ribs.
breathing for a couple weeks.
No, ribs hurt. I mean, even if you just
Yeah,
have
man.
like if you just get hit good, like it just
Where, where,
man,
where,
yeah.
where? What part of the rib? Where?
Oh, when I got hurt,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was
yeah.
like
Where?
it was like right here.
Oh, right there. Yeah, yeah,
Right on the
yeah.
side
Okay.
because then it kind of hurts your back a little bit too and like yeah, it's just the ribs are serious and I mean good for him playing on a short week. I didn't think
Oh,
there was any chance he was going
I
to
know.
play. And I
I know.
think it
You
did
don't even have
affect
to
him
hurt your
early,
ribs,
but
dude.
no.
I agree. You don't even have to. You don't even have to necessarily hurt your rib itself. It's like the cartilage and
Yes.
the
Yeah.
muscle and the sinew and everything that's in between your ribs is what you damage and everything. You
Oh,
know what
I'm
I
sure
mean?
he
So,
was absolutely jacked
hey,
up on Toradol, though. He got he got 2, 3, 4 injections before that game. I'm sure he was probably hurting.
nowadays, and
I bet you Friday was not pleasant. No
the
way.
fact that you know about Toradol, man. All right.
I've been watching ball my whole life. I know the tricks of the trade. Um,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, man. But
Uh, listen, I yeah, I
that's that's some sick stuff, boy. That
as
Toradol.
we as we round the corner here, I guess I just I real quick I just want to go through and just kind of again take what we do, you know, seemingly every week for the last year and a half, which is take stock of the quarterback situation and just ask like where are we with this? Like, because I just don't know. Every week goes by, and I feel like I simultaneously know more and less about Kenny Pickett with each passing game. Because I thought, I thought he was terrible against the Jaguars. And to the point where people told me I was being crazy negative when I'm normally like very positive.
And
And
you have been a huge supporter of Kenny
yeah,
Pickett, man, like since he landed. You
I
mean
have,
so?
I have, but I did, it is getting to the point now where I'm sitting here saying, okay, like you played 21 games, you got 13 passing touchdowns. Like Matt Canada be damned at some point, if you're going to
You
be a
gotta have
legit
to take the
player,
reins, kid.
yeah, at some point, if you're going to be a legit player, you got to start having a 300-yard passing game once every 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, it's 2023,
Or
like, right?
something.
Like, yeah. But then he
You
does
got
this. But he does this like every week. He does this. He comes back and has a perfect fourth quarter. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Well, let me throw some craziness at you, right? So Ben's first year can't really count because that was just too crazy, right? Because he went what, 15-1?
Yeah.
But if you look at his stats, the yards that he had, the number of passing he had, touchdowns, all that stuff. Kind of running the same similar path here to what Ken Pickett's doing right now, to a certain extent, where he's only really throwing the ball 25-ish times a game. They're managing
You're
what he's
you're
doing.
right, and that is kind of what the narrative has become, but I will say I went and looked at this on Monday, and by this point in time in 2004, I think Ben had already had 5 or 6
Right,
multi-touchdown games. So
right.
so it's a little different. It's the touchdowns that get me with Pickett. I mean, it's his touchdown
Different
percentage is
coach.
his touchdown percentage is obscenely low. He's like second or third lowest in NFL history for the amount of passes he's thrown. It's crazy.
History,
Yeah.
lowest in NFL history. That sucks, man. That sucks. But
But then he's
that goes
perfect in
back
the
to
fourth quarter.
he's got a what is it? What's the perfect score?
Yeah,
149.5 is like the perfect quarterback rating.
158.3, I think, yes.
Uh, Whatever, whatever. Okay.
No, he's
Look,
literally
man.
got a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes caliber rating in the fourth quarter.
In fourth quarter.
And the rest of the game you would say he was the 31st best starting quarterback in the NFL. It doesn't make
Yeah.
I've never seen anything. I've never seen anything like this in sports. I really haven't. It's astounding to me.
We go the exact opposite direction, right? And an ex backup of the Pittsburgh Steelers goes from playing for the Cardinals to playing for the Minnesota Vikings, and then has a 3-touchdown game and blows it up and wins the game.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm scratching my head here, people. I'm scratching my head.
Yeah.
By the way, big props to Josh Dobbs, man. Dude,
Did
you
you
went
see
from the Arizona Cardinals one week to that game,
Yeah.
right? Specifically for that reason,
No, I
right?
watch
Because
him
he went
every
from
week,
the
yeah.
Arizona Cardinals, and man, now look, he's not the Arizona Cardinals is not remotely anywhere close to any kind of qualifying team this year, right? But when you go to Minnesota, that's a whole different ball game, right? Their defense, they got some weapons on off. I mean, they got an offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, and dude,
Oh no, he's gonna have
Ow.
Justin Jefferson coming back here. I mean, the guy's gonna be throwing to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. Like, good for him. Like, nah, I think I love rooting for Dobbs, and I'm so happy
I
for
know.
him. And I've watched him every week I get the chance, because I just, there are certain, as I've said this before on the show, but as I got older, when I was younger, it's like guy leaves and you're like, oh, he's, I don't care. But now, as I'm older, particularly with like that 2017 draft class, like I'm going to root for Cam Sutton, and I'm going to root for Juju, and I'm going to root for James Conner wherever they go for the rest of their lives, because those guys were great dudes, and I love them, and I Cam Sutton especially just kills me. I wish he was still a Pittsburgh Steeler, but whatever.
I agree. I agree.
I love rooting for guys like that. And Dobbs, I gotta say, that was awesome. Did you see the locker room video where they picked him up and?
Yes.
Oh my God!
They gave him the game ball. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I had a little teary eyed watching that, man. That's amazing.
Did the fire get a little misty eyed on that one?
I mean, because this is a guy who has his whole life. He could do whatever he wanted. I mean, the guy's a freaking rocket scientist. But you had to know that, like, at some point,
legit rocket science.
Yeah,
right?
No, legit. It's not an exaggeration.
He studied jet propulsion and stuff like that. That's what his major is in. Yeah.
No, he's gonna probably get to go.
Legit.
He's probably gonna get to He's literally gonna probably get to go on a mission with NASA. Like, that's very real. Like, that he might actually do that.
He's been and this is another reason why I follow him too, because I'm very much into space and NASA and all that other kind of stuff. And so he's been to every that they've been to, all the space station stuff. He's been to all that. He was at he was also at the one. Who was it that who sent up William? Who was that? Elon Musk?
I think that was Amazon. I think that was Bezos.
Who was?
Yeah.
Bezos. Yeah, that's it. Right. He was at that, but he was in the control room during that. Right. Like, he was tweeting out and putting out little shorts about him being there and all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely rooting for that all day long. But
no, I agree. And I want to say, like, just real quick. Yeah. Like, because I see a couple people talk in the chat, the legendary Black Rain. Do you think, just to close the door on the quarterback thing, do you think Kenny has another level? Right now, this team reminds me of Alex Smith Chiefs, can win 10 or 12 regular season games, but first round playoff exit. And then Mike Bodner says, I think it's a mental game with Kenny. If he has time to think, not so good, but when he just using instincts, he does well. I think with both of those, with Black Rain, I hear you, but I think that there is more with Kenny Pickett physically than there was with Alex Smith. Like, what just trips me up with Pickett is that we've seen him do things that are physically very impressive. He's made some very elite throws. I thought that one down the sideline to Deontay on that 3rd and 6 this week was phenomenal. I thought that one, I know it was preseason, but that one he dropped in the bucket to Deontay against the Falcons, that was unbelievable.
Oh, that was a dime.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a dime.
No, and the one I'll never forget. I still think is the best throw he's made in his career was to Steven Sims against the Ravens on that game-winning drive. That was
I was
nuts.
gonna say the Steven Sims
Yeah,
catch.
he ripped that throw. I mean, he ripped it. Like,
Oh,
so
that was a good one too.
he can do it. I just yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's a mental thing because
He needs to
I've
sit
heard people
more.
say that. I think it's a physical thing. I really do. I hear quarterback guru types talk about him, and it seems like he's just very inconsistent about sort of keeping his base and all that stuff. And we've talked about with both him and Trubisky that I think they were both natural like baseball players. And so, for Pickett specifically, that idea of like, and for him, he doesn't even like the rollout to the right. He likes the rollout to the left, which is like totally like that's totally
Cross
counter.
being,
Yeah, no,
that's
that's totally counter
cutting.
everything you learn as a quarterback. But
Right? Yeah.
that's where he's really good. Much like Ben. Ben was always really great at throwing off platform, and so I think with Pickett, I think he's a product of his era in college football, don't you? Like, I don't think those kids take dropbacks, man. Like, I don't think you do. Like, how often does a star quarterback in college ever take like a 7-step drop back from center anymore? They just don't do it, right?
No, because you always see him standing 5 or 6 yards back from the center, and they just
Yeah.
clap the ball. They just kind of stand there. They don't do the dropbacks anymore now. And if they and when they do go up underneath center, it's usually a handoff,
Yeah.
or it's a quick little, or it's an RPO or something like that. But you don't see that anymore now, where the drop back isn't really kind of the thing anymore now. It's a shotgun, single back, or sidecar.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or what we've been seeing now with the Canada stuff. I've been seeing that in college too. I see that pistol formation where you got the quarterback and you got two running backs on either side. You know what I mean? So I mean, all different kinds of ways and things that you can do here, but you as an offensive coordinator need to figure out this way to play your number one draft pick quarterback so that he can be as successful as possible. I don't care if you're trying to limit him to 25 or 30 passes a game or whatever you all are trying to do. I don't care, but at some point you got to just be like, all right, man, we just got to give him the keys to the Ferrari.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, at some point, you just got to give the kid the keys because he's going to have to be the one to drive the car anyway. So,
Yeah.
Hey.
No, I agree with that totally. I think I would love to see them come out in a game like this, especially they put a little confidence together on their first drive against the Titans where they actually scored.
Just come out and blow the doors off. Come on.
Just come out and give him an opportunity to make some easy completions, Deontay, Allen Robinson underneath, and just get this thing moving, man, because I think you saw the impact. I could feel it just watching at home, that the offense felt lighter against the Titans because they scored first. Like
he trotted out onto the field when it was time for the offense.
Yeah, no, and they've been great. The one thing you'll say about Pickett too, he's been great. He really, he had I think 2 games last year with 3 interceptions, and that really jacked up his interception total for his career. But generally speaking, he's been really pretty great about not turning the ball over. The Steelers have a great turnover ratio, and that's one of the reasons they're 5-3, if not the main reason they're 5-3.
The main reason. That has to be because let's face it. Here's the thing, and I believe I touched on this a little earlier. The defense needs to tighten the screws down and figure out what's going on here with this backfield, because you can't keep letting teams come in and allow their running backs to have 100-yard games and allow to have multiple receivers have 100-yard days. You just can't do that on defense, okay? Look, I don't care what our turnover ratio is. I don't care how many times rip sack, scoop sack, pick six. I don't care how many times that happens. You cannot consistently give up 20-plus yard chunk plays on a regular basis to receivers and running backs throughout the game. You are going to lose more games that way than you're going to win.
I agree. No, I hear you, and I think the one thing, yeah, is another thing I'm remembering I wanted to mention real quick, which is it's a real bummer with Cole Holcomb going out for the year because I thought he was really playing really well.
Oh man, yeah, that was not a
Yeah,
pretty.
no, that was not good. But I will
Uh,
say, stupid games, stupid prizes. They had him trying to run around guard DeAndre Hopkins. Like, maybe you shouldn't have a middle linebacker trying to guard DeAndre. Now, I'm not saying that's why he got hurt, but like, let's not have middle linebackers covering DeAndre Hopkins in the first place.
can we stop that now? Can we stop that now,
Yes.
please? Can we stop that now?
But what I wanted to say though is that I think very quietly Quan Alexander has had a really nice season, and I think he's
Oh, not
rounding.
quietly.
Yeah,
Oh, not quietly.
I think he's rounding into form, and this is a guy who was a Pro Bowler. He might have been a second team All Pro, even if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that, I believe. Yes, sir.
So I mean, this is a guy, and I thought that interception he made to end that game was sweet. That was a really nice play. I mean, you allow middle linebackers just might get up there and tip that, but he picked that off, and that was nice. And
Purposely. Yes.
I love my man Big E, Landon Roberts. That guy is a beast in the run game. He just comes flying through like a missile. I love him. Honestly, I might think about getting a Roberts jersey. He's smooth.
Dude, I do. I'm with you on that, man. I'll tell you what, he's been impressive. He pops on tape too.
Is he wearing Shazier's number? He's 50, right? I think. Yeah, I think so.
Who's 50? So was Holcomb?
Holcomb was 55.
Peasy's old number. So he was wearing Peasy's old number. All right, so then I think he is 50 then.
I think he's 50. Yeah, I have a Shazier jersey.
Because
yeah,
because Quan he's
Quan's
56 or
54, yeah.
Or 54. Yeah, he's 54 because Highsmith is 56. All right.
Oh,
okay.
man. Shout out my friend Andre Romero, by the way, giving me PTSD mentioning LJ Fort guarding Keenan Allen. I was at that game, Andre. That was the last game. Well, perfect. And let's bring this perfectly full circle, okay? I opened this show talking about death in my family. The last game I ever went to with my uncle, who passed away right before I started this show, was that goddamn Chargers game in 2018 where the Steelers were up 16 points. Boswell missed the extra point to put them up 17. They ended up blowing the lead. They got nickeled and dimed. They could not get the middle linebacker off of freaking Keenan Allen the whole night. I think he had like 13 or 14 catches. And the Chargers came back from 16-0. And that was the last time I ever went to a game with my uncle, who is since deceased.
Oh, man.
But,
gosh,
many
man.
good times with him too. But he just since my man Andre specifically brought up that moment, I had to.
Right down that.
That was also the one. That was also the one. Remember when the Steelers blocked the field goal at the end and they called them offsides and they weren't offsides.
And they went.
Yeah. And then Philip Rivers
again.
And then Philip Rivers had the touchdown where the guy false started by like a full second and they didn't call it. That drives me nuts. I pointed that out in the show this week too.
I know, I saw that.
This is getting ridiculous. Tackles move like 3/4 of a second before the snap now. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The guy, they called defenders for every little thing, and tackles move a second before the snap, and no one cares. I don't get this. I don't get that.
No. I'm seeing, and it's not just Steeler games, and it's it's all across the NFL.
They let the tackles move early, and that never happened before 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know where that came from. I don't understand.
And yeah, that's exactly right. You know what I mean? And it was always, well, if you draw the guy offside, you know what I mean? But that's not it.
No, the tackles move so fast now.
I want to do this before we hear, because I threw some names at you today.
Oh yeah. Word association. I forgot we were gonna do word association today.
Right,
Andre, stop it. Now he says Robert Spillane guarding Jarvis Landry in the wild card. Andre, you are being way too specific. You are killing me. Okay? You are killing me. You're banned, Andre.
Oh my God. No, not really, but seriously, no. Okay, all right.
But also shut up.
So Well, all righty then. Here we go. So I got a list of some names here. We're gonna do some word association, right? So the
Okay.
last couple times we've been on, Steve, you've thrown some names at me, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so I wanna throw some back at you now, okay?
Okay.
So here we go. Here's name number one, and you know I had to go here with this, right? Name number
Yes.
one, Mike Webster. One word that comes to mind when you say Mike Webster.
Um, I would say this is a very millennial phrase, but I would use the phrase old head, which means just like old school. Mike Webster, I think, was of the generation where, you got your bell rung a couple, two, three, four times and you just gritted it out
Seven.
and kept playing. And, respect to that era and that generation. But he definitely is of a previous era, no doubt. That's how I think of him.
I like that. I'll accept that.
Yeah,
I'll accept that. Hold it, because that's two words.
yeah.
Um, Stalwart.
You know,
That guy started 167 games or something like that.
uh,
Right?
yeah. No, I mean
He
it's
didn't miss many
unbelievable.
games.
No, he was
Right?
he was he was before Ben, the guy who had played the most games as a Steeler, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Dermontti Dawson not step into that as well. He was part of that, where I think he started. I think he's in the conversation at least. Dermontti Dawson
He is, but
is in that
I'm pretty
conversation now.
sure. I'm pretty sure when Ben, I think it was most seasons as a Steeler. I believe he passed Mike Webster at the end of his
Okay.
career. I think it was, yeah, but definitely.
Okay.
No,
All right.
amazing,
Okay.
amazing career.
All right. There you go. The quarterback to that, Terry Bradshaw.
You know, I would say I would say nothing other than his own name, Bradshaw. And I know that's a cop out, but Terry Bradshaw is so singular in American
I agree.
culture that there's no
Yes.
other way to describe him other than Terry
Yes.
Bradshaw. You don't have to know anything about football. You don't have to know anything about anything. And you would see Terry Bradshaw on TV and you'd be like, oh, that's Terry Bradshaw. And I mean, my whole life he's been on TV. I can't even believe still that he's still on Fox every single week. I mean, I remember 5-10 years ago thinking he was starting to lose it, and he's still doing it.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah.
he's incredible. I can't call him anything other
Um,
than Bradshaw. He's Bradshaw.
I like that. I'll accept that as well.
Okay.
I would say as far as him is clutch.
4-0 in the Super Bowl, pretty good.
Even in the playoffs, in the championship game, in those regular games when they needed that one play, that one drive, that one,
Yep.
he was always the guy. Called his own plays. I mean,
No, I
clutch.
think I
That's kind of
agree. I agree, and I think that that's one thing that people lose sight of. You know, I think in the post Roethlisberger era, where I think a lot of us came around to the opinion, just like statistically and athletically and whatever, that like most people are like, I think Ben Roethlisberger was the better overall player, even if he didn't win 4 Super Bowls. I think most people came around to that, but I think the thing that is lost with the Bradshaw thing is that element of like, I don't care what era you did it, to go 4-0 in a championship in any sport is unbelievable. And
hello.
yeah, no, and I think that's easily
That's
forgotten.
that's Tom Brady air.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. All right.
Yeah.
I'll stop throwing my hat in there for that. Okay. There we go. We'll bring it right back full circle now. Okay. Broderick Jones.
I would call him just again, this is an easy one. It's a layup, but I would call him a DAWG. He is a dog, dude. That guy, I mean, besides being a Georgia Bulldog, that guy is just a
See, I knew
dog.
you'd find a way to get that reference in there.
No, listen, he had a great quote this week. I don't know if you saw it. I think it just came out today. Um, Somebody asked him like, "Oh, like you guys did 4.5 yards a carry for 166 yards on, Sunday or whatever. Is that good enough?" And he said, "I come from Georgia. If we have less than 200 yards rushing, that's a disappointment," something to that effect. And that to me is like, okay, this is a dude right here. Like, no offense to Chooks, but I ain't never heard Chooks say nothing before. Okay, Broderick Jones said one thing, and it was like right down the alley of what I want as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So that dude is just a dog in the truest sense of the word, and I think he's gonna have a spectacular career. Whether he ends up being a right tackle or a left tackle, I could just see it. It's coming with him. He's gonna be a beast.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope so, because my word for him is going to be starter.
Yeah, good one. Yeah.
Okay. And as he is, as inexperienced as he is, I still think he's one of the best linemen we got.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I think by this time next year we'll be talking about him as the best offensive lineman on this team. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean he should be. I mean he should be. That's his pedigree. That's where he comes from. That should be the case. He should be better than Chooks, and he should be better than Dan Moore. Yeah.
All day long. Anyway, so okay. Last one. Okay. Heath Miller.
See, I initially you say it, and the first word that comes to mind just pure is Earl, because I just always love that his name is Earl. And I think if he was playing while I did 5-star, I would have definitely used that. Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah. I would have called him like the Earl of first downs or something like that. Yeah, no, man, I don't know. What would I say about Heath? What would I say? He was just so stable. Like, stable, I think would be the word that I would say. Like, he never did anything, and he was just there for 9 or 10 years. And just, you just never had to think about that tight end position. And he was, I think a lot of people don't realize. I think Ben is on record saying that that's his favorite teammate of all time. And I think that's really saying something for a first ballot Hall of Fame type quarterback. I think he fits in that mold of guys like Jason Witten and stuff, where you just look at him and you're like, man, I could beat that guy in a race, but it doesn't matter. It's like, do you know where the hole in the zone is? And there's this one throw that Ben made in that Super Bowl in 43 where he scrambled around and he threw it out to Heath. And I still, I don't know how he knew where he was. Yeah, it's impossible. I don't know how he knew. And he got it to him, and it was just unbelievable. Yeah, and then the other play he made against the Cowboys, that sweet catch and run touchdown he had, must have been maybe 2012 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. I think so, yeah.
No, I would just call him stable, man. Stable. Yeah, Heath was great.
There's a lot of comments going in here. Dependable, safety, always open. I love some of those as well. But the word that comes to mind when I think of Heath Miller is exactly, and I'm going to do what you did. It's not a cop-out, but as far as I'm concerned, the word for him is Heath.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Because the guy is still considered one of the best blocking tight ends, right? Yeah. Okay. He was always able to run over somebody. Look, you're not. He's gonna lose in the race to the end zone, but it doesn't matter because he's gonna run you over to get to the end zone. So it doesn't really matter. You might be out in front of him, but he's just going to run you over anyway. So, who was sick? He was the first Gronk before there was.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying, right? Like he was the man. He was Mr. Red Zone. He was Mr. Automate. Like if he was on the show now, you would be playing that money you do with Boswell.
Oh,
You'd be
yeah.
playing that for Heath Miller.
No, yeah.
I am not kidding.
No,
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was just
he was money.
he was a huge part of that era of the Steelers that I think a lot of people I will proudly, if I'm doing this in 5 or 10 years still, I will proudly carry the torch of guys like that.
All day long.
Because I think that it's easy for a Heath Miller to get lost to time. And that's just reality. Like that's just true. There's plenty of B caliber players in every sport.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about Magic. Nobody talks about James Worthy. I don't know why that's the 4th time I've referenced the 80s Lakers in this show, but like that was just the first thing off the top of my head.
Why don't you just say, why don't everybody talks about Jordan, but nobody talks about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's just,
Right.
And I think that, that's only fair. I think that there will be guys that come along like that on every era of every team. I think almost to a certain extent, I think Alex Highsmith is almost a victim of that right now because TJ is so good that I don't think anybody outside of Pittsburgh fans have any idea how good Alex Highsmith is. I mean, this guy is unbelievable, and he's just been spectacular. I know the stats don't necessarily show it, but
I think they do. I think they are. I think they do. I think they are.
Well, like the advanced stats, like pressures, and yeah.
I think he stands on his own, but I also think that those two guys are a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
For this defense, because it's really funny if they go into the defensive huddle and you can just hear Alex and TJ talking. Yeah, I'll meet you at the quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be on the left. Okay, I'll be on the right. There, break. You know what I mean? Like you can just see them guys doing that, right?
Yes. My man Andre chimes in, astute as always, mentions a couple other guys from those teams, Casey Hampton and Aaron Smith. I would say Casey Hampton, if you're a Steelers fan, no one's forgetting Casey Hampton. Casey Hampton was legendary, but I do agree Aaron Smith is one of those guys that
unmentionable guys that is not.
No, there's guys around the Steelers organization, the LeBeaus of the world, that will go to bat saying Aaron Smith is as good of a 3-4 end as there's ever been. And he was a huge part of why those teams never gave up any rushing yards. Yes, it was Casey, and yes, it was, Chemo or Kiesel or whatever.
Kiesel, yep.
But Aaron Smith, make no mistake, Aaron Smith was the best defensive end they ever had in the 2000s. Like,
he was out.
Yeah, no.
Was out, they missed him.
No, it was huge. It was
huge.
It was huge when he missed time. No, Aaron Smith was such an underrated player. That's a good reminder. I got to get some Aaron Smith memorabilia. Maybe get a little signed 8x10 or something.
There you go. Yeah.
It'd be cheap. It'd be cheap, right? I can't imagine it'd be too expensive. I gotta get something.
I mean, hey, from what I understand, they got Juju jerseys going cheap at the Steelers shop. I also think I saw some Ozolski jerseys going cheap.
Oh, really? I gotta get a Dobbs autographed jersey. That's what I gotta get. Josh Dobbs.
See,
where's the line?
I'm with you on that.
Can I like, especially like, if I get older, I get more space, for memorabilia. Is it acceptable for me to have like a James Conner like signed like Cardinals helmet or like a Dobbs signed Vikings jersey? Is that acceptable?
Yeah, because they're ex-Steelers.
Yeah, I think that's fair, right?
As long as there's some kind of tie to the Steelers, then that's acceptable, right. I would think.
Because,
you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't go out there and go, yeah, I want to get an Adrian Peterson one.
No.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson was a good running back and everything, but I would never having Connor jersey then when
because at some point the collection does become. I mean, I love the Steelers, but the collection becomes very black and gold at some point. Like, I need a little red or blue in there somewhere,
You're a Georgia fan, right?
Yeah,
Isn't their
let's go
colors
Dogs.
like
Yeah.
white
Red
and
and
red,
black.
right?
Red and
So yeah,
black. Yeah.
red and
Yeah.
black. There you go. So you get some see. That's
Oh, and
why I
I
luck
got the
out, right? Because I'm a
Knicks.
Flyers fan.
Yeah, I got the Knicks and the Mets, so I get the orange and blue for baseball and basketball.
See, there you go. See that I'm a Flyers fan, so I get the orange.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it works out. It works out.
All right, we
Um,
gotta get out of here. We gotta get out.
so much for saying. Okay, so the little can before we get on air, and Five Star was like, "Yeah, I would like to try to, keep it on the short side. I'm
Oh
not looking at
yeah,
like a seven, whatever." Blah, blah. We'll see how it goes. Well, all right, man,
I
we'll see how it
know.
goes.
I know. We just keep going, but I like doing the radio. It's just fun. It's
Me
easy.
too.
It's
This was
you
great.
know
I
the
could do this all day long, man.
the main show. It's a lot of work. This is just you sit down and you BS about
Fine.
sports. You know.
It's our therapy session, right? Plus, we get to have these great folks out there in the chat. You know what I mean? And so, look, while you're out there in the chat and while you're doing this great stuff, all you have to do is hop over to Patreon/5SMU, hop a quick $4 a month or a quick $7 a month. Look, folks, it's only $48 a year if you do the $4 one. You can't even get a cup of coffee these days for $4. Okay,
True.
so and what it does, man, is it helps keep the Five Star crew rolling. It helps keep all this great stuff, all this great content rolling. So look, man, I'm asking you guys to please jump out there, join the club, join the Five Star Nation. Get out, get there, and do it. Okay, right now, need it more than ever.
I appreciate that greatly. And yes, that's absolutely the case. These next, 8 weeks is the whole opportunity we have to make
Yeah, and
money
hit the
off of
like
this.
button too while you're at it.
It's the whole opportunity we have to make money off of this deal for until the next year. So, I know it seems like there's always like a perpetual future and all that kind of stuff. There's always more, but like, at the end of the day, like I'm not putting this effort into this to get 1,000 views every so often in March or April. Like, I go all in all football season. I give you guys every single thing, every single drop of effort I have. If you aren't
And it
already,
shows.
yeah, and if you aren't already subscribed on the Patreon, please do it. I know I still owe some people some gift envelopes. I have some good stuff to send out. Just haven't gotten a chance to go to the post office. But if you go over there, I'd really appreciate it. Patreon.com/5SMU. Do it now. I appreciate the
For
plug.
sure.
What
Yeah,
do
man.
what do you want to plug before we get out of here for yourself?
Well, I'll tell you what, sir, Mustar, we got a lot of stuff happening over there at the Steel Flyers All Sports Network at www.steelflyers.com, where Prospect Watch has been jumping off the charts. Holy smokes. We had Bryce Pickford. We had Henry Major. We got some goalies coming up. We got some Sherman. We got some great young talent coming in, probably some first draft picks that are going to happen this coming season, the 2024, and the NHL draft for that as well. Be sure to check out the Steel Flyers show where we cover all the sports, the Steelers, Flyers, Formula One, Pens, name it, we cover it. Got to go check that out. You can follow me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52, and I'd really appreciate if you come over and hop on my channel on YouTube and hit the like vibe over there and hit me up on Twitter and follow me there too as well. That way you can keep up on the great stuff that we're doing. So thank you very much, Steve, for having us on here. And I would just like to say that this show, not just this one, all of them, is dedicated to all those people that I want to tell you guys, if you don't have a minute, you need to take a minute to tell the people that are close to you that you love them, because you're not guaranteed your next breath.
Yeah.
Okay. So by all means, take this time, take this opportunity. The holidays are coming up and everything else like that. Get together with friends, get together with family. Do it, because you're not guaranteed tomorrow. Okay. So that's my last thing. Take the time to say to the people that care the most, that you care the most about, and tell them how much what you mean to them. Okay, so there you go. That's my essay for the night.
No, I appreciate that, and you're absolutely right. You know, I can't say it any better myself. You know, I've been unfortunately forced to learn multiple times that you don't always know when that time is coming. So, um, you know, one thing I'm gonna do better at, and I hope you guys will follow suit. Let those people that matter to you, you know, let them know, because yeah, we all know and we can all assume things, but trust me, it's better to just say it and express it. So definitely try to do that. But otherwise, let's get ready for a Steelers game on Sunday, huh? Let's go to 6-3.
Woo, dogs. All right. So we're picking a win.
Yeah, Steelers are going to take care of business. Yeah, the Packers offense
Yeah.
just stinks. I think they
Yeah, I'm
pick
with you.
off Jordan Love a couple times. I think they take care of
Yeah.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
and at home. And at
Yeah.
home. Yeah,
You
yeah.
got
No,
to.
no, no,
It's a
okay.
must win. I think I think that last week was really a momentum builder. Jaguars, honestly,
Agreed.
Jaguars are just better than them. They're just not at that level. You know, but the
Yet.
Rams in this game, I think were momentum builders. It's time to start snowballing a little bit. Take care of
Exactly. Just
business.
something together.
Yeah.
Start putting something together. Start getting that roll going now. You know what I mean? Now's the
Listen,
time you want to get that rolling.
exactly. Listen, you get to 6-3. What do you got to do? You got to go 4-4 to get to 10-7. That ain't daunting.
And that's playoffs, buddy. I
Yeah.
don't care. That's going to be
No,
playoffs in the AFC.
no, that would be a big step forward for these guys. Um,
Thanks everybody for
yeah,
this out, man. Thanks to everybody for joining and all the great folks out there in the chat, man. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for hopping on
we
and joining us.
appreciate y'all guys so much, and we will catch you down the road on the next edition of